Xiao Yan ventured alone into the four-pavilion assembly, only to have his identity unexpectedly exposed, leading to a blockade by Fei Tian from the Wind Lightning Pavilion. At this critical moment, the Dou Zun of Wind stepped forward, declaring that no one was allowed to harm him. Continuing from previous episode, after rescuing Lin Yan from Wang Chen's clutches at the four-pavilion assembly, Xiao Yan found himself immediately surrounded by a dozen or so guards from the Wind Lightning Pavilion before he could even catch up with his friend. The guards questioned, "Who are you, and why are you disrupting the proceedings of the assembly?" Xiao Yan, in turn, questioned why they weren't confronting Wang Chen instead. After all, the rules of the assembly stipulated that once someone admitted defeat, others couldn't continue to attack them. Yet, Wang Chen repeatedly violated these rules, even resorting to deadly force. Hearing Xiao Yan's inquiry, the others were taken aback. They were well aware of the previous scene, but Wang Chen was affiliated with the Yellow Spring Pavilion, and with the Dou Zun of Yellow Spring present, they hesitated to comment further. Observing their reaction, Wang Chen sneered, "A worthless individual who relies on luck to make it this far. Killing him is no big deal. What's there to boast about?" Hearing this, Lin Yan's anger flared. "What? You son of a bitch!" Before he could advance, Xiao Yan pulled him back. "It seems the Yellow Spring Pavilion's members possess only this level of integrity. Your survival up to now is merely thanks to the reputation of the Yellow Spring Pavilion. There's nothing worth boasting about." As he spoke, the Dou Zun of Yellow Spring on the platform scrutinized Xiao Yan. Despite his Dou Zun strength, he couldn't see through him, sensing only that he seemed enveloped in an intense flame. Surprised by this, the other three Dou Zuns were also taken aback. After giving Xiao Yan a sideways glance, the Dou Zun of Yellow Spring coldly remarked, "How dare you, a junior like yourself, comment on the Yellow Spring Pavilion? Who is your master? Speak up and let me hear." To cultivate such an arrogant disciple, your master must have some skills, right? Xiao Yan retorted, "I'm just stating the facts." My friend had already admitted defeat beforehand, yet the opponent still attacked. Such actions clearly violate the rules of the assembly. The other three Dou Zuns present here must also see clearly who's right and who's wrong. Seeing Xiao Yan calmly facing four powerful Dou Zuns without any panic, many onlookers couldn't help but admire him. After all, Dou Zun level experts are all formidable figures, each capable of wielding immense power. It's not an exaggeration to say they can change the course of events with a gesture. However, the expression on the Dou Zun of Yellow Spring grew considerably darker. The Dou Zun of Yellow Spring angrily declared, "Words alone won't solve this. Let's follow the rules. Anyone who disrupts the assembly must be punished severely. However, considering this is his first offense, 50 lashes with the Thunder Whip and then banish him from Mount Thunder." The Dou Zun of Wind interjected, "He's not at fault here. Arbitrary punishment would only tarnish the reputation of the Dou Zun of Thunder." The Dou Zun of Sword chuckled, "The Dou Zun of Wind makes a valid point. While this person did disrupt the assembly, there's a reason behind it after all. How about this? Let's each take a step back, allow this person and his friend to leave, and continue with the assembly, shall we?" The Dou Zun of Thunder, upon hearing this, could only shake his head helplessly. It was obvious that these two old fellows were trying to undermine the Dou Zun of Yellow Spring. He could only offer a rueful smile in response. Seeing this, a hint of fierceness flashed across the face of the Dou Zun of Yellow Spring. He then said, "Since you think Wang Chen only managed to hold until the end because of the reputation of my Yellow Spring Pavilion, then I'll give you a chance. You can have a match with him. Regardless of the outcome, you and your friend can leave safely. How about that?" As soon as these words fell, the square erupted into an uproar. At this moment, Lin Yan could no longer contain himself and pulled Xiao Yan, intending to leave. In his view, while Xiao Yan might be stronger than him, Wang Chen was undoubtedly a true pinnacle Dou Huang, known for his ruthlessness. Lin Yan feared that Xiao Yan's odds against such a formidable opponent were slim. Wang Chen stated, "Kid, if you dare not to fight, kneel in the direction of my master and apologize. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave." Xiao Yan stared fixedly at Wang Chen, his palm slowly clenching within his sleeve. Seeing Xiao Yan's determined expression, Lin Yan's complexion changed abruptly. "Xiao Yan, don't act rashly." Xiao Yan reassured him, Don't worry, those from the Xiao Yan Academy are not weaker than anyone from the Yellow Spring Pavilion. As Xiao Yan stepped forward, cheers erupted from the crowd outside the square. To them, regardless of whether Xiao Yan could match Wang Chen, his courage to confront the challenge head-on was admirable. Wang Chen warned, "Kid, I will make you regret offending the Yellow Spring Pavilion." Instantly, a pitch-black aura surged violently from within him. Sensing the formidable momentum, the onlookers couldn't help but exclaim in envy. Wang Chen was now almost halfway into the Dou Zong realm. Feng Qinger and the others in the arena showed no surprise on their faces. They had all bathed in the Tianshan blood pool and gained significant benefits. Wang Chen's advancement to nearly Dou Zong was within their expectations. At this moment, a ferocious bloodthirstiness covered Wang Chen's face. Wang Chen chuckled, "Kid, you've now lost your last chance." Dance of the bone-eroding dagger. Facing the swiftly approaching barrage of black light, Xiao Yan immediately wielded the six-joint flowing ruler to defend himself. As the dazzling exchange unfolded in the arena, the surrounding area erupted with astonishment. No one had expected Xiao Yan to hold his own against the peak-level Wang Chen. At this juncture, even the dimmest onlooker could see that Xiao Yan's decision to confront the challenge was not rash but based on genuine strength and qualification to contend against his opponent. At this moment, the smile on Yellow Spring Pavilion's face grew increasingly sparse, eventually giving way to a complete gloom. Sensing Xiao Yan's aura rising steadily, almost reaching Wang Chen's level within just a few breaths, only to continue its ascent without pause, Yellow Spring Dou Zun couldn't help but feel his heart sink. Beside him, the faces of the three Dou Zuns of Wind, Thunder, and Sword gradually registered surprise. This individual had indeed concealed his true strength. In that case, wouldn't Wang Chen be in a precarious situation? With this realization, Wind Dou Zun and Sword Dou Zun couldn't help but feel a twinge of delight. But as the two of them reveled in their schadenfreude, the shroud enveloping Xiao Yan suddenly dissipated, replaced by a surge of power far surpassing Wang Chen's. The six-joint flowing ruler, six-joint fire. The six-joint flowing ruler encompassed three realms: the fierce fire, the flowing fire, and the six-joint fire. Previously, due to his strength, Xiao Yan could only unleash the fierce fire. However, his breakthrough to Dou Zong this time allowed him to directly ascend to the realm of six-joint fire, a first for him. He was confident that its power would far exceed that of his full-powered flame-splitting sea-devouring ruler. A green-brown flame adhered to the ruler's body. With each swing, the surrounding space tore open. The people present all had a slight change in their facial expressions upon seeing this. Even Tang Ying, Mu Qingwan, and Feng Qinger, their eyes filled with an incredulous shock. This fellow, he's actually a Dou Zong powerhouse. The people in the field were all shocked and pale at the sight. After all, the person in front of them looked to be only about 20 years old. If this person didn't possess near-demonic talent, then they must have an extremely powerful background. However, compared to them, Lin Yan seemed the most stunned. Thinking back to when he left the Jiama Empire years ago, Xiao Yan was merely at the peak strength of a Dou Wang. Now, after just a few years, he had suddenly become a figure akin to a Dou Zong. It was known that he reached the level of a 4-star Dou Huang only by chance inheritance from a senior, his strength skyrocketing. But compared to the current Xiao Yan, it seemed almost insignificant. Meanwhile, the three Dou Zuns of Wind, Thunder, and Sword on the platform also glanced at Xiao Yan with solemn expressions. They hadn't expected to misjudge him this time. The Dou Zun of Yellow Spring, on the other hand, stared at Xiao Yan with a dark gaze. He hadn't anticipated this turn of events. While it was unlikely for a Dou Zong powerhouse to make them feel this way, achieving such a level at such a young age was indeed somewhat abnormal. At this moment, facing Xiao Yan's ruler, an intense sense of danger spread from the depths of Wang Chen's heart. Wang Chen couldn't believe it. How is this possible? How could this kid be a Dou Zong? He knew very well that if he lost this battle, the punishment upon his return would be severe. With a low growl from his throat, he unleashed Yellow Spring Blood Mantra. Yellow Spring Rotten Corpse Arm. Instantly, a pitch-black arm blasted out, tearing apart the surrounding space as it collided with the ruler carrying a strand of brownish-green flame. The next second, Wang Chen's figure was sent flying backwards by the earth-shattering explosion, finally crashing into the walls of the arena. He struggled to get up, but blood spurted out from his mouth. Just as he attempted to stabilize his injuries with Dou Qi, he realized that his body was being ravaged by a strand of emerald green flame. After casting a glance at the still-breathing Wang Chen, Xiao Yan slightly clasped his fist towards the yellow spring Dou Zun and said, "I have fulfilled the agreement. Farewell." Just as Xiao Yan took a few steps to leave, a chilling laughter suddenly echoed from behind him. Wang Chen spoke, "I never expected this. In less than 3 months, you've actually reached the level of a Dou Zong. It seems you've benefited the most from the Tianshan blood pool, haven't you, Xiao Yan?" With these words, everyone present was stunned. No one had imagined that the young man who defeated Wang Chen was none other than Xiao Yan, who had recently gained widespread fame in the northern region. Even more unexpected was his honorable appearance at the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, with whom he had already forged a bitter enmity. Xiao Yan's bold actions left everyone present bewildered and shocked. On the side, Tanging of the 10,000 Sword Pavilion stared at Xiao Yan with disbelief. "It's actually Xiao Yan? Is he insane?" Mu Qinghuan remarked, "This fool guy. He actually came?" Feng Qinger added, "So it's him. No wonder. I never imagined his audacity would reach such levels. It seems he truly hasn't regarded our Wind Lightning Pavilion seriously." Amidst the uproar, the Dou Zun of Thunder, seated at the forefront, was also momentarily stunned. He had heard of Xiao Yan's name before, knowing well that it took extraordinary skill to cause such havoc at the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion. Turning slightly to his side, he addressed Fei Tian, "Is he the one, Xiao Yan?" Hearing the somewhat angry words of the Dou Zun, Fei Tian's expression turned extremely grim. After all, he had been reprimanded by the Dou Zun more than once in the past because of Xiao Yan. He hadn't expected this matter, temporarily set aside, to be brought up again. Then, facing Xiao Yan in the field, he coldly commanded, "Kid, take off the mask on your face." Under the scrutiny of countless gazes, Xiao Yan's eyes darkened slightly. He hadn't expected to be recognized by Wang Chen, likely due to the presence of the heavenly flames. After all, they had clashed once in the Tianmu Mountains. With a sneer, Xiao Yan removed the mask from his face, revealing his true identity. "What's this? Does the Pavilion Master Fei Tian want to make a move against me today as well?" As soon as Xiao Yan's words fell, Fei Tian's figure appeared behind him like a ghost, his pair of lightning-clad claws ruthlessly piercing through Xiao Yan's chest, yet not drawing a single drop of blood. Fei Tian responded, "An illusion? Haven't seen you for a few months, and your strength has improved. No wonder you're so arrogant. The Wind Lightning Pavilion is nothing but a group of bullies, preying on the weak and outnumbered." Immediately, Xiao Yan's gaze turned directly towards the Dou Zun of Thunder seated above. "If you truly believe that I have such a deep enmity with the Wind Lightning Pavilion, why not take matters into your own hands? With your strength at the Dou Zun level, I certainly wouldn't be your match. Why bother with all this trouble?" Xiao Yan's words caused a commotion throughout the crowd. Many looked on in shock. Was he out of his mind, daring to provoke the Dou Zun of Thunder so brazenly at a time like this? "No need for these tricks in front of me. Catching you doesn't require my intervention," replied the Dou Zun. "With the North Pavilion Master, there's no need for the Dou Zun to intervene. After all, these are common practices of the Wind Lightning Pavilion. And if the North Pavilion Master is unable, there's still the West Pavilion Master and the South Pavilion Master present." The West Pavilion Master retorted angrily, "Kid, watch your words. This is a matter of the North Pavilion. The West and South Pavilions will not interfere." Hearing this, Fei Tian furrowed his brow slightly. The difference in status between him and Xiao Yan was too great. His initial actions had been taken out of necessity, but Xiao Yan had still managed to escape in the end, greatly damaging his reputation. After struggling internally for a moment, a hint of ruthlessness flashed in Fei Tian's eyes. Today, no matter what, he couldn't let him off the hook. Soon, an unusually majestic momentum slowly awakened from within Fei Tian. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan's gaze darkened slightly. He hadn't expected the old man to be so determined to act against him, even at the cost of tarnishing his own reputation. At this moment, Lin Yan in the field urgently shouted to Xiao Yan, "Xiao Yan, run." After all, Fei Tian's strength was too terrifying, and the gap between them was still immeasurable. But they were currently in the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, and escaping would be no easy task. Xiao Yan's gaze swept over the area, finally settling on the Dou Zun of Wind. Taking a deep breath, he clasped his fists towards the Dou Zun and said in a deep voice, "Dou Zun of Wind, I would like you to take a look at something." Seeing Xiao Yan suddenly directing his words towards him, the Dou Zun of Wind was also taken aback, then smiled slightly. "Young man, this seems to be a matter between you and the Wind Lightning Pavilion, and it doesn't seem to concern me." Xiao Yan smiled and removed the ring left by Elder Pill from his finger, then tossed it towards the Dou Zun. If he was truly as trustworthy as Elder Pill had claimed, then his actions next should confirm something for Xiao Yan. Of course, if the outcome was different from what he expected, then Xiao Yan would still have to face the consequences alone. However, when the Dou Zun saw the ring being thrown to him, the faint smile on his face gradually froze, and his body seemed to turn into a sculpture, his gaze nearly frozen as it stared at the ring containing the deep soul imprint. After a moment, the Dou Zun's body gradually relaxed, his hand tightly gripping the ring, his eyes closing gradually, and a voice that brooked no doubt slowly emanated, "No one is allowed to touch this person."